Take a trip through any city around the world and you'll be hit by a variety of sights, sounds and smells. For some, the experience can mean a sensory overload. The modern world presents an array of complexities, particularly for someone on the autistic spectrum.
I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about autism. Basically, to me what it is that you find it hard to talk to people, to be around people. Asperger's can be a lot of sensory issues as well, so it can be bright lights and sound and lots of people. Autism on its own, without other people, without society, is not a problem. It's when you have that expectation to fit in and to do stuff, that's when it becomes a problem. When you have to go out and engage with people, that is a problem. So if the rest of the world didn't exist, I'd be all right.
Jo Redman is a British kickboxer whose aggressive fighting style has seen her clinch 3 world titles. Away from the sport, Jo is much more withdrawn. She has Asperger's syndrome, an autistic spectrum disorder characterised by social and communication difficulties and repetitive behaviour. Last year, she was also diagnosed with Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or ADHD, the symptoms of which include inattentiveness and impulsiveness. The two disabilities can be incredibly conflicting.
So basically, my Asperger side of me is saying, I need structure, I need to know what I'm doing, I need to know what's happening, and when I've set what I'm going to do, that's what I want to do. But my ADHD side is going, but what about doing this? What about doing that? So I'll start doing a task, for example, and I'll sit there, and while I'm doing it, I'll probably start thinking something completely random about how many kings and queens have been in England or something, and then I'll have to go and search out how many kings and queens have been in England. So Asperger's is quite rigid. I want to do things in a particular way. ADHD comes along and is like the Tasmanian devil, basically, just kind of wrecking everything.
Jo has defied both her autism and ADHD to forge a successful career in kickboxing. She first got into the sport at the age of 13, after her dad suggested that it would be a good way for her to socialise and improve her confidence.
What the sport gives me is an outlet, and that's helpful. I guess it's kind of twofold. I have an outlet for my frustration. It gives me a structure and a routine, and it gives me discipline, and those kind of things are quite important. And it also gives me a place where I'm included, and that inclusion is quite important for people who feel different.
In 2003, Jo was invited to train with the England squad. 4 years later, she was awarded her first black belt. She headed into the 2011 World Championships in Spain as one of the favourites for gold, having twice medalled at the competition. And to the delight of her coach, Alex Barrowman, she claimed her maiden world title.
2011 was quite a few going for the golds at the time, and Jo was quite nervous. She got herself inside and she was just sitting there. And we tried to bring her out of it, and eventually we got around the mindset right. And then when she got on the mat, she was unstoppable. Her legs were flying, the combinations were working, and as she got more and more through the fights, it just became more and more easy for her.
They lifted my arm as the winner, and I kind of thought, did I just win? And I came off the mat, and my coach came over and gave me a hug. And he'd already texted my dad to tell him, because he knows my dad. So I started getting all these text messages and Facebook messages popping up, and it was a really good feeling to learn that I could be successful, and that was kind of the point where I did. So these are my 3 medals I've won in the World Championships. So I'll pass them around.
Jo has since gone on to claim 2 more world titles. Buoyed by her success, she started giving motivational talks and kickboxing workshops in schools around her local area of Northamptonshire.
I'm here to tell you it's okay to be who you are, and that's kind of my message. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be you. I've got lots to offer the world.
Transworld Sport joined Jo at the Friars Academy, a special school for children aged 11 to 18, where she was giving a talk to a group of girls on the autistic spectrum.
Don't let anyone direct you towards being standard. This is like my kind of favourite thing at the moment, standard. Life can be dictated by this expectation to reach a standard, to reach standard, to be standard. And standard is average, and who wants to be average? I don't want to be average, I want to be exceptional. Okay, so I'm ready, so I'm here.
Unlike Jo at the same age, most of the children at Friars are aware of their disabilities, and they've been introduced to systems which help them manage their needs.
I wasn't diagnosed until I was an adult, so I grew up not knowing, and growing up not knowing meant that I was always aware that I was quite different to other people, and being different to other people is difficult when you're growing up. But actually having the diagnosis made me feel like actually, you know, I can do things, but I have to find a different way to do them.
1, 2, and push through.
I want to go in and give that to young kids and tell them it will be okay.
Jo has received many letters from the children she's spoken to, which she keeps in a scrapbook alongside photos from the various competitions that she's competed in around the world. The scrapbook also contains a magazine that Jo made to try and raise awareness of autism.
The reason why I made the comic was because I saw it as an opportunity to create a visual representation with a written explanation, and I thought that would be really useful to help people to understand the challenges of living with autism. So some people with autism could take things literally, and there's a picture of somebody looking out of the window with cats and dogs falling from the sky with rain, and it's sort of like people with autism can struggle to make friends and know how to join in with others. So you've got the person with autism in the background sitting there with a group of people all talking. That's kind of what I was like at school, I think.
Despite her anxieties in social situations, Jo has developed some close friendships in recent years. She met the Caldwell family at a talent show a few years ago and helped support them with their autistic son, Owen. She regularly goes walking with the family and her pet Labrador Oscar, with whom she's also formed a strong bond.
Someone that always accepts you as you are is the most valuable thing you can have, just to be, you know, just to feel that acceptance, and that's what you get from a dog. He's given me like a distraction from serious activities as well, so it helps me to stay balanced from all stuff I need to do, but then to do something I enjoy, which is taking him out for walks and teaching him tricks and stuff like that. So yeah, he's been great to have, but also a little bit of a challenge too.
At 28, Jo is reaching her latter years in kickboxing. In the future, she wants to go into coaching, but she'd still like to compete for a few more years yet.
She's happy within this environment, and as long as she's happy, she'll get results, whether it be as a fighter or be as a coach. And when she's here, she's putting 100% in, and it changes. You know, she changes. You can see the change. She comes through the door very in herself, withdrawn, just gets her pads on, but by the end of the session, she's then communicating with people, and it's helping her communicate and work because it's within a framework that she can enjoy.
I still want to compete for a few more years yet. I still enjoy it, and it's still a big part of my life. I think once I stop competing, I won't stop training because I need to punch stuff. I need to let out that frustration. That's kind of how I do it.
Subscribe now to our YouTube channel for the very best of Transworld Sport.